Good morning. It's Mike again from the AudPod, and it is, holy crap, Tuesday, October 21st, which means that there's only 2 more weeks until the U.S. election and all kinds of mayhem, I guess is one word you can call it. That is either going to happen the night of, the week after, or who knows what's going to happen. I feel sorry for all my American friends down there right now. It's crazy. Anyway, I want to touch on a few election-based podcasts, I guess you could say. I've been trying to listen to them, but I don't really understand the whole U.S. electoral college slash seats thing and how it works. It's completely different than what we have here in Canada. You have a first past the post, and then you have this popular vote, and it's just rather confusing. So I'm not going to comment much on it, but I've noticed that there's a boatload of podcasts about the U.S. election. If you want to get informed, you can find everything. There's all kinds of them out there. And what I did find was I was trying to find one called Battleground, which I think was on the iHeartRadio stations. And I type in Battleground, and there's like 4 or 5 different podcasts, all titled Battleground. The one I was referring to has 2 hosts in it, David, what's his name, Plouffe or something like that, and Steve Schmidt. That's it. So those 2 guys, and one used to work, I think, on, well, one was a Republican and one was a Democrat, and they were like the campaign managers, and they have these really interesting conversations about what is happening in the states and various states and how they're swing states, and I guess that's why it's called Battleground. And that podcast, I could listen to that for 20 minutes maybe. Sorry, I have my morning coffee. And they aren't so bad. If you're into that kind of stuff, I'm sure that you will like Battleground with David Plouffe, Plouffe, I think is how you spell it, and Steve Schmidt. Then there's another podcast called Battleground Ballot Box, which, once again, I think is, that one I haven't really listened to. I just saw it pop up, and it looked kind of interesting. Another one that popped up that I have not listened to, but also looks interesting, is because it's from the Washington Post, and it's called Election 2020. Now, I don't know how long it's going to go after the election, if it will, but it seems to be, sorry, all the beeping and crap. It's raining out, obviously, then my dash cam will beep if it detects that there's no motion. Anyway, Election 2020 by the Washington Post, and I don't know if that's going to continue much past the election, which could be interesting. Sorry, coffee break. Holy crap, that's hot. And then one of my favorite ones is called You and Me Both with Hillary Clinton. And now this is going to be a short-lived podcast because it looks like there's only 5 or 6 episodes up so far. But it just strikes me being Hillary Clinton complaining about things. Though she's such an articulate woman with so much to say, and she's just really interesting. So I imagine that I could probably get dragged right into that, because that would seem probably be a good book, or a good podcast. Speaking of books, I was reading Truth and Consequences, I think. The Truth and something. And it was about one of the guys that Trump fired, and he's kind of focusing on what was happening with Trump a few years ago with Comey. James Comey? Yeah, James Comey. So that was an interesting book too. I got with 3 or 4 chapters into it, and once again it was a bit of a snooze fest for me personally. But I imagine that some people would find it interesting. But I do want to read Bob Woodward's new book called Rage. Is it Rage or Fury? One of the 2. And he was actually interviewed on the Dax Shepard podcast the other day. And that was a podcast that just drew me right in, and I listened for the entirety of it, because it's Bob Woodward. And you think to yourself, well, here's an older guy who was, instrumental in the whole Watergate cracking open or breaking open. But then you realize that President Trump calls this guy for like advice or just to complain and bitch occasionally. And then he's putting some of those stories on the Dax Shepard podcast. So I suggest that you look that one up. I'll see if I can put that one in the link below. And that's it. That is your Tuesday, October 21st. 2 weeks to the election for the American people. We might even have a snap election here in Canada, but that's a whole different topic. So if you can vote, do vote. Go out there and make a difference. I don't care what side you vote for, because they both have pros and cons. But it is one of your obligations as a citizen to put your voice out there. But off tangent, have you ever noticed how the rich and powerful don't really seem to kind of voice themselves when it comes to elections? That's because they know how to get into the back pocket of the people who are actually elected. And they don't care so much about who's elected, because they're the ones that are going to be pulling the marionette strings on this. All right, happy Tuesday. Enjoy your day, and we'll talk again.